Hello everyone and welcome to another random video on the internet. Today I am revisiting a topic that I covered a year ago and seeing how my views have shifted. And before anything else, I have to say most of you guys will disagree with this video. I've been to the gulag, I've walked through the trenches, my insanity arc is in full swing, and what I am going to say in this video will probably result in me losing any credibility that I might have had in the eyes of 95% of you guys. But the point of this channel is for me to provide my honest opinions, not to cater to popular beliefs, so I am making this video anyway. If you like bombastic community-splitting takes, please consider subscribing and ringing that bell, it helps a lot. And without any further ado, how strong is Boros? Round 2, let's get started. Since I've already done videos on how Boros compares to other characters in One Punch Man, today I'll be paying more attention to how he scales in general. Multi-continental, planet level, 100 times faster than light, that sort of thing. So starting off, let's address the multi-continental Boros meta. This comes from the statement in the webcomic and the manga where Boros says he'll destroy the Earth's surface. And right away, a major, in my opinion, misconception that I see a lot of the time is that this is the limit of Boros. First of all, let's just get this out of the way, he is not stating the capabilities of his cannon. He is stating his intention. His intention is to wipe away the planet's surface. That doesn't mean that he couldn't do more if he needed to. It doesn't put a cap on his level of power. The same thing goes for the planet-busting statements in the anime guide, by the way. Boros' intention is to blow up the planet. That doesn't mean that he couldn't accomplish more if he needed to. We also have to get into destructive capacity versus attack potency. Even if you say that Boros' destructive capacity is just planet surface or planet level, that does not mean his attack potency would be limited to that level. Now, everything I just said doesn't prove Boros is stronger than this statement would indicate, it just establishes that it doesn't put a cap on how strong he could be. If we didn't have anything else though, we would just say yeah, he is planet level or planet surface level. But we do have other things, so now let's get into proving why the multi-continental Boros meta is completely inconsistent and why Boros is way stronger than that. Starting off, let's just briefly cover the level of power various One Punch Man characters are dealing with. Evil Ocean Water, just by existing, generates multi-continental levels of energy. Not his attacks, just him existing and holding this much water together. If you think the collapsing star roaring cannon is the same level as ocean water just sitting there, I don't really know how to react to that. Sage Centipede is calced anywhere from continental to small planet level. Orochi's suck force alone is calced to moon to small planet level, not his attacks, just the vacuuming force of his tail. And then Saitama overpowers his strongest attack, the Gaia Cannon, which should be way stronger than this moon to small planet level suck force. And then when Sairochi is first born, she has memories of Saitama overpowering the cannon and one-shotting Orochi, and still believes she can turn him into fodder, implying that this incomplete initial Sairochi is already a one-shot level above Orochi and the Gaia Cannon, which is already small planet level, or at least moon level. Then she absorbs the energy of her surroundings and gets bigger and stronger, to the point that she goes from being a joke to Tatsumaki to actually concerning her. Then Tatsumaki, while fatigued and injured, one-shots this Sairochi, and then a healthy, full-power Tatsumaki would obviously be above this. So we have a healthy Tatsumaki being above a fatigued Tatsumaki, who is above a complete Sairochi, who is above an incomplete Sairochi, who is above the Saitama who one-shot Orochi and his Gaia Cannon, which is above Orochi's sucking force, which is moon to small planet level. Do you see what I'm getting at? Tatsumaki at full power is casually in the planet level ranges with utter ease. And I've made whole videos on why I believe Boros in his release form alone scales far above her, and everyone else mentioned so far. Not Meteoric Burst, especially not the collapsing star roaring cannon, just released Boros with his kicks and punches is already high interplanetary bare minimum in my eyes. Next we get to the statement about Boros being capable of obliterating a star. People claim this to be a mistranslation, but the guide already translated the word planet once earlier in the Boros section. If they can do it once, they can do it again. But then they went with star level this time, not planet level. And with the knowledge that released Boros is already high planetary, the roar cannon being only planetary is just blatantly inconsistent. And I also have to mention that the guide says the cannon is formidable enough to obliterate a star. This also doesn't really put a cap on its power. A human is formidable enough to lift a 5 kg dumbbell. That doesn't mean that they can't lift more. But again, this wouldn't be proof on its own that Boros is stronger than star level. It would just be inconclusive evidence that he might be, and we would still just go with star level. But now, let's get into why I believe Boros is actually way stronger than just baseline star level. This next section won't be new to anyone who's been around my channel before. I firmly believe that Boros scales to Saitama. But first, let me actually show you some character development. Let's talk about this chapter cover statement right here. The one that sends shivers down the spine of any Saitama hype man. The one that's so controversial that people claimed it was fake for years. It's no secret that I've used this statement to make the claim that Boros damaged Saitama in their battle. However, now I want to say I denounce my claims. The statement is real, it was made in the weekly releases by somebody. The statement appears in some Japanese manga sites for One Punch Man and in a lot of English versions too. However, that being said, I went out of my way to buy the official Japanese volume, and there the statement does not appear. Chapter cover statements in general do not appear. Most likely because they're probably made by other staff, not One or Murata. The statement about Saitama taking damage was most likely made by some staff working on One Punch Man. The only thing that can really be surmised from this is that Boros vs Saitama gave someone on the team the impression that Boros did deal damage to Saitama. So you can infer that an official staff member thought Boros did damage, but it's not concrete proof by any means. For concrete proof that Boros does scale to Saitama, we need to look at Saitama's own opinions. Saitama is a character who genuinely cannot tell how strong a person is. He is good at somehow always fighting just the right amount of force to use on people to knock them out without killing them, but when it comes to monsters, the Baldy can't feel their blows. He can't tell how strong they are. Everyone is the same to him. Saitama says it himself when Suiryu asks him if Goketsu was strong, to which Saitama replies, "I don't know how it compares to the others, it only took one punch." Saitama can't compare monsters to each other because they're so far beneath him. But Boros is different. He calls Boros strong not once, not twice, but 3 separate times. For him to be able to tell that Boros is strong, he would have to feel something against him. Whether that be the power of his blows or the fact that Boros can take normal punches without dying, something is prompting Saitama to say that Boros is strong. And none of that he's helping Boros live his dream, helping him cope because he feels bad for him nonsense. Saitama called Boros strong to Genos, where there is no need to be lying at all. And he asserted to Boros that the alien really is strong twice. And yes, Saitama claimed that Boros was strong to someone other than Boros, so that just disproves any notion of Saitama lying to the alien. He can relate to Boros and want to help him live out his dream, and also genuinely think that he is strong at the same time. The two are not mutually exclusive. And we haven't even gone to the fact that Saitama thinks to himself that Meteoric Burst Boros is almost a real fight for him. I mean, there it is, clear as day, Boros is almost a real opponent to Saitama. Not quite there, obviously, it would take Cosmic Goro to get to that point, but Saitama has to be feeling something to make this claim. Boros' punches are doing something. He blocks numerous blows from him, he reacts to the blows, and he monologues in his own mind that Boros is almost a real challenge. Even if Boros punching Saitama was the equivalent of a fly ramming into a professional boxer, which is an insane lowball considering how Saitama reacts to Boros, that would still equate to Boros being only 2,400 times weaker than Saitama, so wherever you think Saitama scales before his exponential growth against Goro, you should just divide that value by that many times to get to where Boros scales. For example, if you think that Saitama before his exponential growth is around baseline multi-galaxy level, for example, that would still equate to Boros being galaxy level. And if you think Saitama is 4th dimensional, that would mean Boros is 4th dimensional too. And I know that people are gonna disagree and they're gonna make all these claims and whatnot, but like, really, prove to me that your word is more valuable than Saitama's own inner monologues. Please, like, if you can prove to me that your words are more valid to scaling Saitama than Saitama's own words, please go ahead. I'm waiting to hear it. And we haven't even gotten to how the databook states that released Boros has rivaling abilities to suppress Saitama. An arguably less suppressed Saitama than the one who would later go on to clash evenly with Cosmic Garo, but, you know, we don't have to talk about that. Or the fact that it's stated that Saitama resorts to using the serious punch against the roar cannon, implying that he had to use a serious punch, placing the cannon above any of Saitama's normal moves, which is also substantiated by the fact that the collapsing star roaring cannon has been calculated to be around a fifth of the power of the serious punch that blocked it, and by the fact that serious Saitama has been stated to be on a whole other league compared to normal Saitama, whereas the roar cannon scales to a fifth of that whole other league. Obviously, it would have to scale above the normal league then. Now, I get how controversial all this is. Like, it's not might be, it's not maybe, it just is. It's super controversial. Like me saying Saitama is less suppressed against Boros than against Cosmic Garo at the start, or, you know, anything. Like, you can debate any of that, but it doesn't really matter. What matters in my eyes is that Boros definitively scales to Saitama via Saitama's own admission, via guides, via everything. Wherever you think Saitama scales, Boros should scale to it too. Whether that be galaxy level, universal, fourth dimensional, it doesn't really matter. I'm not trying to downplay Saitama, I'm trying to just prove that Boros is that guy. Like, I'm not trying to say that Saitama is planetary or star level, he obviously is way higher than that. What I'm trying to say is that Boros should scale to a fraction of wherever Saitama scales, regardless of what you think about the bald man. Also, if you go by the anime, Boros is legit stronger than Saitama. You can see he shattered Saitama's entire pelvis with a kick. Saitama probably felt it for a moment, his emotions rose for a brief instant before his adaptation kicked in and he healed before really comprehending what happened. So by the time he reached the moon, he wasn't excited anymore and just thought he hallucinated the pain and his emotions went away. But I'm saying it now, Boros forced Saitama to adapt and heal. Meteoric Burst Boros is stronger than Saitama at his peak before adaptation. If it isn't obvious yet, I believe Boros, in just his released form, absolutely demolishes anybody who isn't cosmic level, including Gargoyle Garo. But that can be a topic for another day, as there are a few things to cover with that, so I think I might still make Gargoyle Garo versus released Boros sometime in the future. So in conclusion, wherever you think Saitama scales before his exponential growth, Boros should scale to a level below. And with nothing else to say, I wish you a great rest of your day. Goodbye.